You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and I hope, wherever you are in the world and whatever you're doing pretty bloody well. The bloke you're about to hear from, his name is Donnie Van Stavern, and he is the bassist in long-running US power metal pioneers Riot. They now go via the name Riot V, or is it Riot 5? They use a Roman numeral at the end of the Riot there. Anyway, they've got a brand new album out in 2018. It is called Armour of Light. It's fantastic stuff. Donnie's going to tell us all about it. Let's get to it. Here we go. Donnie, welcome to the show. Can you tell us about the new album Armour of Light?
Armour of Light. Armour of Light is pretty much, I call it finally the standalone record for Riot 5 moving on with the legacy, because, after Mark passed away, we were doing Immortal Soul, the last record with him, and he didn't really participate a lot because, he was quite ill, and Mike Flint ended up playing all the guitar on that, all the leads and most of the rhythms. Mark played like 3, unfortunately. So after his unfortunate passing in 2012, we came out with Unleash the Fire, and that was kind of a tribute. We made it a Thunder Still Meets Fire Down Under, and we had a couple tributes to Mark with pictures of him, and this was like our tribute to him, It's our send-off album, and it was our last record for the label at the time, SPV. So it was kind of like closing that chapter, And so after the tribute was done, which is a very important record for us because, a lot of people were like, we're continuing on without Mark. So we had to make a statement, and the record did very well. Mm-hmm. So closing that chapter, gave us the power to move forward. So in our 4-year hiatus, we had a lot of business things to do. I started handling affairs for the band, and so I wanted to get a better label. And I love SPV, but I figured we need to be on the label, a heavy metal label like Nuclear Blast, who's, one of the most popular labels. Said, if I'm going to get this thing to move forward after everything we've been through, we need to switch. So that, leading all the way up to Armour of Light, this was the record where it was kind of like, it wasn't the tribute anymore. It was like, this is us. Yeah. This we're continuing. And this is our era, the chapter 5 of Riot. And so we're very proud of it. For that fact, myself and Mike channeled our old writing styles from, my Thundersteel Privilege days to his Inishmore Nightbreaker, like Mike DeMeo era. So we tried to make it a well-sounding Riot record from, our eras. Mike wrote in his style and I wrote in my style. And, we actually recorded like over 20 songs and we picked the best 11. So we felt like these were the ones that would best represent the band at this point. A little bit of that fast, aggressive style, a little bit of the still great. Slow commercial style. And then, you got Todd Michael Hall is just the icing on the cake. So we hope people, it's well received because we put a lot of heart and soul to our first one, per se.
Yeah, I can tell. And look, I've got to share this with you. I don't typically get into what is usually known as power metal style music, but I am really enjoying Armour of Light. John sent me the promotional copy and I had it on. I put music on around my kids, okay, because when I'm entertaining them and just, generally cavorting around the house with them, mate. But I've had it on quite a bit. So I only got it 2 or 3 days ago or so, but I must have listened to it front to back 5 or 6 times yesterday, when I had it in the car, on the iPhone, and you get into the car and the Bluetooth kicks in and it's on, and then I'll leave it on when I'm getting out of the car and I'm coming inside and cooking dinner and all the rest of it. And the one thing that strikes me about it, mate, it sounds vital, it sounds fresh, it's fast, there's a lot of energy about it.
Yeah, it's, not bad for a bunch of old men trying to keep up with the Joneses. we basically, we wanted to make an aggressive record because of the fact that we were changing labels. It was us, changing over, changing of the guard, so to speak. I was kind of taking over from the years with Mark and moving forward. So, once we got on a label like Nuclear Blast, I told the guys, I said, they have a variety of music, but we should probably, hit them hard and sound fresh. Let's get out there with the rest of the bands. Let's make a record. But the one thing, besides us being very powerful and aggressive, we never lose sight of a good song and a good melody. We always like to write, maybe a fast song, but it still has the the memorable choruses and sing along harmonies and stuff like that. We take pride in a good structure of a song rather than just beat your head in, with the music and the vocals. We like to let the music be aggressive and then let the vocals be real nice and pretty and so you could sing along. And then, we tone it down a bit. We get to some mid-tempo stuff. But Nuclear Blast at first, Marcus wanted to front load the record. He told us, he said, we're going to put the first 3 or 4 songs just double bass and just in your face. And I'm like, okay, if you want to do it like that, we want to just make sure people know that we're not going overboard. We still have the rock and roll stylings as well. So hopefully it comes across like that. Give it a listen 2 or 3 times. It'll grow on you.
Yeah, it does. No, anybody out there that's listening, I can certainly agree with that. And look, you might have already touched on this point here, but I will ask the question because, Riot have really an incredible history. And in my view, the band are as important to US heavy metal as Savatage. So both bands are incredibly underrated and have endured the passing of an iconic guitarist. So do you think that Armour of Light will allow many younger and impressionable fans to get into you guys and discover what is a considerable back catalogue? So I'm talking about the young guys and girls out there that listen to deathcore and metalcore because I actually think it's got that potential to cross over.
Yeah, and that's so true because when we write like this, we think in terms of that too. And we have a couple stories at some meet and greets when we were doing festivals. We had very young kids, must have been, maybe even 18, 19 years old, come up with the record. And we really loved your new record. Do you have anything else? And we look at him and kind of smile. And I mean, obviously, we're older gentlemen, so we're like, well, take a look at us. It's like, actually, the history goes way back. We have 16 records out and Rock City and all this. And so, you have those people that are very new. Then you have some of the fans that go back as far as Thunderstill. You just have the power metal heads who go like, oh, you have records. And I say, yeah, well, the band was more straight ahead hard rock all the way up until 1988 when me and Mark decided to, make a little bit heavier style.
Thundersteel style, yeah.
Yeah, we wanted to do that. So when we write this, we figure it can cross over. One thing we wanted to do, and Marcus knows when we first negotiated with him to sign, he had a vision, and so did we. We wanted to, we have the history, but we wanted to get away from the stigma of being the old band, and put on certain things. We want to be able to cross over, and that's why we made a record like this to where we can go out and not necessarily just play with, the old school tours, but we could possibly jump on stage with, Nightwish or Leaves Eyes or some of these, newer bands, even like an Arch Enemy. We can cross over and reach the younger crowd because it's very aggressive. And I think they can relate to it. And a lot of the fans are new. When we play in concert, I look in the audience, and there'll be, the typical oldsters, but then there'll be a lot of young people, so I think it's making the point. Hopefully the record comes across like that too. They can hear it, I think the youngins should like it.
Look, I think so too. I mean, I think it's a really important record for you guys because, I'm a bit, this is my opinion. I'm not a massive fan of nostalgia acts. I spoke to Biff Byford from Saxon last night, and they're like you guys in that they're releasing incredibly vital material that deserves to cross over. So are there plans to say go on those, those massive European tours that they've got, Sweden Rocks and the like?
Yeah, we have some stuff coming up. As a matter of fact, speaking of Saxon, we're very good friends with them, and we got inducted into this heavy metal Hall of Fame back in January at the band, and Nigel was our guest with his manager Adam, and we had talked about doing an old school tour like we did way back in the day with Riot and Saxon, talking about doing it again after they get through with the Judas Priest support. So that we have that, and then of course Joachim and the Hammerfall guys who are very, very big Riot fans. And they come from the Thunderstill school of Riot. They're into that more power metal.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, they're doing something in late this year, and we're gonna do a tour with them as well. And then one thing that we've got already being booked right now is a co-headline tour with Primal Fear. It's another
Yeah, great.
power
Yeah,
metal
great
band.
bill.
So
Yeah.
Primal Fear and Riot will be doing like a 6 week tour of Europe in October. But before that, the end of the year, we got, like I said, we have this, Japan thing next week, filming it. And then we have three festivals in three consecutive weekends. We have like the first weekend is, what is it? That Headbangers open air, we headline.
Okay.
Then a week off. And the next weekend we do that Wacken. And then after Wacken,
Oh, you're doing
the
them.
week
Yeah.
off.
There you go. Yeah.
And then we do the third festival is at Lindeas del Rock in Spain. It's another big one with Judas Priest on it. And so instead of going back and forth, we decided that we would have our agent Jorg from Dragon Productions keep us over there. And so they're going to announce these dates probably within the next week or two.
Hmm.
Um, so we're going to do a whole string. We'll be over there for a month. We're starting in like there'll be like I think Denmark, and then we do the festival. Then we do Scotland, Belgium. We do another festival. Then we do London, and so he's going to keep us over there in between the festivals each week. We'll fill it in with 3 or 4 dates. So it'll be a full blown tour, and that'll be in July. So
Okay.
that's kind of what we got going on right now.
Wonderful. Yeah. Okay. No worries. And look, let's have a look into your history with the band. Okay. So I understand that you spent time in Mark Reel's solo outing. So correct me if I'm wrong. Prior to joining Riot
Yep.
in about 1984 or so. So what can you tell us about your early working relationship with Mark?
I met, I actually met Mark early on in, before I was friends with Mark when Guy Speranza was still in the band. That's how far I go back with him.
Way
What
back. Yeah.
happened was, I was in a very heavy metal band. It was another Slayer. It was the Texas Slayer back in the day. We had two records, and
Yeah.
I met Mark and through a mutual friend, and Mark would want to keep his guitar chops up when he was off the road with Riot. So he would play with my band Slayer, and from then on we had a relationship going. We started hanging out as friends, not just musicians. And then I would actually help him co-write songs for Born in America, and we would sit in the garage and we would write music. And so that when I started helping him write songs and arrange songs for Riot for some of their records, he decided let's start writing music on our own. So we started writing music not for Riot, just for ourselves. And so then he said, well, we should get out and play with this stuff. So that's when we started working on his solo band, which, ended up calling it Narita, because we wanted, a little bit of the Riot flavor in it, but we wanted a cool name. And then we had Steve Cooper, who was sang with me in the Slayer. And of course it featured Dave McClain, who's now in Machine Head on the drums.
Mm.
And so we released a demo and we shot for a record deal, and we never really got a deal. And a lot of the songs that Narita wrote ended up on Thunderstill. We took them with us. Narita played Thunderstill, Fight or Fall, Crimson Storm, stuff like that. So that's when I first met Mark back in the late 70s, early 80s. And then basically when Mark went back to Riot when they were on hiatus, that he went back to the Born in America tour, the bass player Kip Lemming did not want to continue with the band anymore. So that's when I got the phone call, and he said, hey, Kip's not coming aboard. I told the guys that I was, you're in my solo band and you're a great songwriter and whatnot. You want to come and join the band. And that's when I joined. And that was like right around 84. So I got to play with Sandy Slavin and Rhett Forster, and we did, quite a few dates and shopped the band. And then when everything started getting stagnant with that lineup, because, bands like Maiden and Priest and the new wave of British heavy metal were coming out, Mark said, look, we got to keep up with the Joneses. We need to put a little more gas on our music. So I started writing music and we started getting aggressive, and Sandy and Rhett didn't see the vision. And so we headed back up east, and that's when we started Thunderstill in 1988. So that's how it happened for me.
So, what my take on Mark Riel is that in the fullness of time, now I'm actually talking as the decades advance, and both you and I have possibly moved on to the next dimension, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Generations are going to come to revere his guitar playing because it really is rather unique in that he is to Richie Blackmore what Vito Bratta is to Van Halen. So, did you, as a bass, because I'm a bassist as well, I'm a working musician, what was it like to look across the stage to see him shredding and ripping out so many of those tasty riffs in the vein of Thundersteel?
It was awesome, anytime you get to play with a band that you were a fan of, you get on stage and the excitement's there. It's almost like that movie Rockstar with Mark Wahlberg, where he gets to join the band,
Yeah.
his favorite band. That's how I was almost. I had the early rock and roll records first, so I was a fan. And when I met Mark, I was starstruck. I thought it was great, one of my favorite bands. And then, yeah, when I got in the band, it was great actually getting to play Swords and Tequila with the band and, some of the
Yeah,
classics,
nice.
road
Yeah.
racing and whatnot. I was like, holy cow, I'm getting to play these songs with a real band. And so it was really cool being able to see, Mark Reale, who was not only my friend, but, was my mentor because he taught me the craft of writing a good song when he knew I was a young metal guy and writing 1,000 riffs. He taught me how to like lay back and, just let the song breathe and write melodies. You don't have to be this. So that's where a lot of my writing skills came from. Like when I write stuff like Flight of the Warrior, it's aggressive, but then the chorus is very nice and it's pleasant to listen to. So,
Yeah.
Mark was, he was an inspiration to me. And I think I gave him a little bit too, because when we started the Thunderstill, he became a different player. He went from the old school, like he was very, his favorite guitar players were like Leslie Weston Mountain and
Yeah.
Montrose, and he liked the old schools. But then he started listening to Yngwie and Judas Priest, and he started changing with the times, and his skills were just like getting incredible. And he started playing, all that stuff you hear on the Thunderstill on. He's just magical guitar player,
Mm.
well-rounded. He could do the blues, the feel, but then he can shred when he needs to. So, yeah, it was awesome looking at his change and seeing how he evolved into the player that he did.
Yeah,
He just kept going.
you're right about your influence actually now. You can definitely hear that massive it's quite a leap, isn't it, onto the music that ended up on Thundersteel.
Yeah, yeah, it was like it's Riot's always had these transitional periods. That's kind of why I put the chapter 5 in there. I said, well, they with Guy Speranza, the first 3 was more like a heavy hard rock, and then when Rhett joined in the chapter 2, it was like a southern hard rock, and then when Tony Moore joined, of course, with me, the Thunderstill was the first power metal version. So everybody was kind of. I remember when Rhett joined the band, and everybody was kind of freaked out about it. Going, what happened to Riot?
Hmm.
They're not like they used to be. They got this weird Atlanta, Georgia singer, and it's not the same kind of voice. And then, then we went to Thunderstill. Then they said, oh, what is going on? This power metal now. So they've had different eras. And then when Mike DeMeo era started, that was like the chapter 4, because he was more like a rainbow. They did like a rainbow Whitesnake kind of
Yeah,
type of music.
definitely.
And
Yeah.
then, of course, when we came back in this 5th chapter, it was my era. So I wanted to do the
Yeah, great.
power metal again. So Mark used to tell me the longevity of a band is through good music, and I think he used to tell me it doesn't matter who the players are. As long as you have good music, people will listen to it. When you start putting out crap, that's when you run into problems. But he's been putting out quality music. Um, so
Hmm.
that's basically I mean. How the band's been able to move forward with different genres of music, you know what I mean? And
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
it's just styles change, and some people like it and some people don't. Fortunately, a majority of the people are digging it.
Yeah. No, agreed. Agreed. You mentioned somebody in there, Rhett Forrester. So on forums and fan, social media things, he's frequently cited as a favourite. Okay, but he was known as a bit of a tearaway, wasn't he? I mean, this is just what I've read online, of course. So you were in the band for a little bit when he was the singer. Did you appear on any of the albums that he sang on? So there's Born in America and Restless Breed.
He, Rhett Forrester was when I first joined the band. He was actually he was the singer, and then uh, after he stepped out for a little while, we got the Harry Conklin fellow from Jag Panzer for a while. And then Rhett came back because Rhett was doing solo stuff with, the Jack Star stuff. He did Out of the Darkness, and then he did his solo records, Gone with the Wind,
Mm-hmm.
and he had a couple other records. So he was busy doing that. But other than that, the solo stuff, his solo stuff, and the record with Jack Star, those were the 2 main records with Riot. He was playing in a band called Rochelle, and then he was playing a band called the Hitmen a while back, and they released demos and stuff, but he never released anything else. But I remember, as a matter of fact, this is how far I go back with Mark, previous to me joining the band, when Mark called me and said, "Hey, guy left the band. We're going to get a new guy." I remember Mark playing me a cassette tape of Hard Lovin' Man with Rhett Forrester. He goes, "Here's who we're going to get." And when I heard Rhett's raspy voice, I said, "You're crazy." I said, "You're going to kill the band. No one's going to like this guy. It's too different." And then of course, ended up, people started liking that era of the band. But for Rhett, he was from Atlanta, Georgia, and he had played with, a couple rock bands locally, and then he did some solo records. But other than that, those were the only two records. And then he, after he bounced, he was doing some playing and solo. I actually played some shows with him in the Rhett Forrester band. We'd play his solo stuff and some Riot stuff. And then I kept in touch with him a little bit. And then, of course, I got the news that he'd been shot,
Yeah.
and killed in Atlanta. It was really terrible news. I think I was in Las Vegas playing on a tour, and someone called me and told me the news, and it was really horrible. But he was a great man. He was the rock and roll star on stage and off. I mean, he looked the same way when he was off stage walking around. He was a crazy, rowdy rock and roller, that guy.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
He's awesome.
So you worked with, let's talk about SA Slayer for a bit, because it's quite an interesting story there. Look, I can only read what I find on the web, of course, and apparently did Kerry and Jeff, did they sue you guys or attempt to put a legal imposition in place where you couldn't actually continue with the band name?
Well, there was a lot of, it's pretty funny when they always have this talk of there's a Slayer versus Slayer and there's a record. No, what actually happened was, back when we were kids, when we were younger, we made a band, called Slayer, in San Antonio. And it featured Dave, who is in Machine Head now, but he was in Sacred Reich as well. And then besides Steve Cooper, the singer that went on to sing in Mark's solo band, he passed away from a diabetes complication several years ago. Mm-hmm. It featured Ronnie Jarzombek on guitar, which is Bobby's brother, who ironically played with me in Riot for years and on Thunderstill, his little brother. So Ronnie was in that band too. And then the guitar player, Bob Catlin, got in an obscure industrial band called Pigface with Martin Adkins. So all the band members kind of like went out to do some stuff. It was kind of crazy. But when we did Slayer, we came out with an EP first on a Rainforest label, a Green World Distributing, called Prepare to Die. And it was before the LA Slayer. So we put it out, and then all of a sudden we get like Metal Blade going, "We're about to put out a band called Slayer." And we're like, okay, well, what do we do? So basically there was chit chat between the management, but the band really never gave a shit. They were like, hey, you got the name, we got the name, whatever, we'll see what happens. But contrary to what a lot of people advertise, there was never a versus, because at the time of the concert, what happened was that Slayer from LA was coming to Texas to play some shows. So we thought it would be cool if we played with him, and we called it Slayer and special guest Slayer. And so that's what it was. So they came to town, and we went on before them. We let them headline, and we played a theater in San Antonio. It was packed, and we went on and played, and then they came on and played, and it was two Slayers on the same stage. And, I remember talking to Dave Lombardo and Tom Araya, and shaking hands, wishing them luck, and it was all good. We were all good, and what ended up happening is we didn't really get a legal lawsuit or a contest for the name. We simply ended up disbanding, because that's when I joined Mark and did the Narita band, and inevitably eventually I went on to join Riot. So that's kind of what happened. We kind of just disbanded, and Dave went West Coast and played with Ross Robinson, the producer now, and Neil Turbin from Anthrax in a band, which led him to Sacred Reich, which led him to Machine Head, which led me to Riot. So it's basically we just disbanded, and so they just continued on with the name, and they got quite big.
Yeah, that they did. Yeah, they've only just announced, I think I don't think it's a recording retirement. I could be wrong, but they're doing their farewell tour with Tessa and Anthrax.
They're doing a farewell tour.
Yeah, I didn't think I'd see the day. So there you go.
Yep.
You got to hang up the guitar strap eventually, haven't you? I think Tom's had enough, from what I've read. He
It's hard. I tried to hang up the guitar strap, and then here I am in my mid 50s, and I put it back on.
It's in your blood. You can't get away from it, can you? Even I know that with the work that I do. It's
Can't get away from it. I have children. I even have a grandson now. I'm a grandpa,
oh,
heavy
good
metal
on you.
grandpa, and I'm out there still playing heavy metal. Still not making a comfortable living at it, but man, I'm having a great time and meeting great people and seeing cool places. So
Yeah.
it's the passion, I guess.
Yeah, great perspective. And I will ask you this question: what is the biggest challenge that you've overcome in your career? Because you've done a lot.
Well, it hasn't been easy, like I said, in this type of music, especially nowadays where the mainstream in America, at least over here, there's not really a big place for bands like us, like it used to be back in the day. We're saturated with a lot of the younger musicians, the younger music.
Mm.
And, right now the challenge is really, trying to break your band in America. You have the mainstream metal bands like the Metallicas and the bands that can do that, even like Avenged Sevenfold or Megadeth or some of the bands like that. They can continue on and do stuff like that. But for bands like us, um, it hurts us. It's hard. Our biggest markets are in Europe. We always have to travel because Europe's always still kept the metal flame burning. You know what I mean? We can go
Yeah.
over there and still pack it in, play the festivals, and so it's a bit different. So, um, I'm having more of a challenge now trying to, do the rebirth of the band since it's from the era, trying to like breathe new life into it. That's why I'm trying to, get on the new label, do fresher music, get back out there and try to get back up where the band used to be, get back in the metal mainstream. It's a little bit harder over here. But as a whole, it's never been easy in this kind of music. It's a little easier back in the day, but now you just kind of put it out there and you throw it out there and see what sticks. And like I said, I've never really made lots of money living on it. It's basically just something that that we've been doing, and we're
Mm.
trying to make the best of it. And we'll see what happens. But right now, surprising to us all, 2018 has been going great for the band with the induction of the Hall of Fame, 30th anniversary of Thunderstill, and of course the signing of Nuclear Blast. So things are looking up. So I can't complain at this point.
Mm. Yeah.
We'll see.
Hey, something I've always wondered is what's the band's mascot? It's the white furry animal. Sorry, I've got to ask. I've always been intrigued by it.
Yeah, that's one of the most asked questions too. Believe it or not,
Hmm.
he is in a actually he came uh, all the way back to Rock City, the first record. It was actually the producer Steve Loeb's brother-in-law. Sister was married to this abstract artist, and at the time he made this creature. It's actually a seal. It's a baby snow seal, like a harp seal.
There you go. Okay.
And at first it was like kind of a folklore kind of thing where it's like the body of a warrior, ninja, or sumo wrestler strength and like the softness of a seal head. And he was getting back at humanity for clubbing the seals, and he was going to get you back. So it turned into that, and then they decided to use it on each record. They used it on Narita, and then they started using Fire Down Under. So he became the iconic figure mascot for Riot. They thought it was cool. A lot of people think it's quirky, and it kind of is. They're like, what is this thing? It's the band with the worst album covers, but the best music, because what is this creature? And it's just
Hmm.
kind of stuck with us, whether you like him or not. He's very identifiable with the band, and, he's got a bunch of different names. They started calling him, the early management, the Mighty Tior, kind of a play on
Mighty Teal.
the word Riot. And
Yes.
then, a lot of people, the newer people, since I've been writing a lot of songs about a Johnny character, they started calling him Johnny the Seal or Johnny the Mighty Tior.
Hmm.
So he's got both names, and that's why we continue to use him with the Riot 5. But I wanted to make him more vicious instead of so weird and cute. I said, look, make the mascot vicious and more aggressive like our music. So that's why when you see the Riot 5, us continuing on with the music like that, that's why the warrior is very muscular now with an axe, and he's got a
Hmm.
very ferocious seal face. So we continue on, so people identify us with that. That there's that crazy creature, on their album cover. So you can call him Johnny the Mighty Tior.
Well, my kids love the cover of Fire Down Under. I'll give you that. You know,
They probably use it as a mask, right? You can cut it out and put a rubber band on it and use it as a mask for Halloween.
well, I've been looking to that point. I tell you, I've been looking for the vinyl version of it. Actually, I want to get the 180 gram copy though because I like the way it sounds. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
kids just go for whatever's on the album cover, right? And your album cover, yeah, it's right up their alley. Let me tell you, you know. So,
yeah.
but hey, final question for you is Australia. Now, we're not the biggest metal market, you know that, and I assume you've had some correspondence, some communication from fans over the years. So, what's the Australian market been like for you guys?
Well, it's been, unfortunately, we've never been over there. We've had a couple opportunities when we go over to Asia and stuff like that. They've talked to us about it. And we have a fellow that works with us in Grand Bonnet, this guy Giles, who's from New Zealand.
Mm.
So he says you have to get over. There's a lot of fans over there, and we get a lot of correspondence, and people wonder if we'll ever get over there. And we've gotten a lot of positivity from going, from fans to go over there. And I think it would be really cool if we went over there this year because, we have, the new record and we've never been there. So it'd be the first time going over there. So we'd have to cover a lot of ground in the set. We've talked to people about going over, but the reactions have been really good. I mean, we do have quite a bit of people on our social pages that really dig the band and always ask, when are y'all coming over here? So I actually, when I was talking to John, when he was setting up these interviews for me, the division over there, I said, you know what? We need to get over there. I said, I'll do the interviews. I said, but, talk to Jorg and talk to Marcus and let's get someone over there and let's get the band over there to do a full-blown tour. Like we should. We haven't touched that market. We need to get over. And they agreed, and they said there's a chain of clubs over there where you can play them, And so
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
they're looking we're looking into it, so hopefully we'll be there. Someplace we really want to go to, so that would be great.
Well, fingers crossed. And have you ever been here on vacation or anything?
No, I've never been there. My brother, like I said, the drummer from Machine Head, me and Dave go way back. We're like stepbrothers. When they went over there, he met his wife, and so he's over there quite a bit and just sends pictures to me and says it's incredible. He was over there before they started their last tour, and he said it's very beautiful. You got to get over there. So we're trying. Believe me, we want to go over there.
Oh, well, I certainly hope to see you here too, mate. So, yeah, look, that's it from me. I really appreciate you having the chat and shedding so much light on chapters of the band's history too, mate. And congratulations on this last album. I mean, I really hope it gets out there and does what it should be able to do for you guys. It's Riot have always been criminally underrated, as I said when I made that comment about yourselves and Sabotage. But this album here is something else. For a bloke like me who listens typically to a lot of disco funk and, I get into everything jazz. But I've been listening to a jazz drummer from New York called Dan Weiss. I don't know whether you've heard of him, but I've had your Armour of Light on and Dan Weiss's 16 is his album. In between each other, so I've gone from your music to this avant-garde jazz thing. But you know what? It works. So what can I say?
I mean, we're the same way. We play, metal, that we've been doing it forever, and we do it for the fans. But we listen to all types of music over here. Todd released a record that's just totally obscure ethnic music from India, and then Mike plays in a Bee Gees tribute band, and we all listen to like oldies and Motown. So. We've, we just enjoy good music. That's the bottom line. Like you said, you could put on a record like that and, we could put on a record like this, but, like I said, good music is good music, man. So you just enjoy a good song,
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Well, congratulations again, mate. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, man. Have a great morning. Have some more coffee, man. We'll see you soon.
Will do. Cheers, mate. No worries.
All right. See you later, mate.
You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and that was my conversation with the bass player from Riot, or Riot V, is it? Or Riot 5 even. Anyway, you know who I was talking to, and you know the band I was talking about. Donnie Van Stavern is the bloke's name. Really hope you enjoyed that conversation. Thank you for listening.